Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We are now one full week into the domestic abuse scandal involving now former White House Staff Secretary Rob Porter. And yet the American people still do not know who knew what and when and why. Why the White House staff kept someone around who had been accused of domestic abuse by two ex-wives and an ex-girlfriend. Questions that the White House continues to refuse to answer. And of what we do know, it seems the White House explanation is not really holding up. The White House would lead you to believe they've been nothing but clear and consistent on this issue. In fact, Chief of Staff John Kelly just told the Wall Street Journal about the Porter situation, quote, "It was all done right." That's just wrong. Just since yesterday, we've learned more that suggests the White House has not told the American people the full truth. From the White House podium yesterday, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders painted a rosy picture of a White House motivated by a clear sense of right and wrong, seeking to remove, with clarity and purpose, someone who had been accused of abhorrent behavior.
We learned of the extent of the situation involving Rob Porter last Tuesday evening, and within 24 hours, his resignation had been accepted and announced. We announced a transition was going to happen, and within hours, it did.
What that narrative does not acknowledge is that the initial response from the White House was to prop up Porter and stand by Porter. Before he had resigned, they were issuing glowing statements. Sanders praising Porter as, quote, someone of the highest integrity and exemplary character. Chief of Staff John Kelly saying, quote, Rob Porter is a man of true integrity and honor, and I cannot say enough good things about him. And this morning, CNN learned that the rally around Porter went even further, that shortly after noon that day, last Wednesday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders called to her office four top print reporters who had questions about Porter. They came to her office, and there was Rob Porter. He spoke with them off the record, sharing his side of the stories involving his two ex-wives and their very disturbing charges. Keep in mind, this was after the Daily Mail published two reports detailing the accusations and after that black eye photograph of Porter's first ex-wife was published by The Intercept. One source says the White House saw this off-the-record discussion, first reported by Politico, as an opportunity for Porter to tell his side of the story. But whatever the motivations, make no mistake, this was the communication staff of the White House facilitating an opportunity for an accused domestic abuser to tell journalists from the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Axios that his ex-wives were liars. All of it paid for by your tax dollars, and a clear contradiction to the narrative that the White House is now pushing, that once they saw the black eye photo, Porter was essentially shown the door. An even more stark contradiction came today as well from President Trump's hand-picked FBI director testifying on Capitol Hill. The White House has been insisting that the background check into Porter by the FBI had still been ongoing, which was why that the White House had allowed Porter to remain on staff with access to classified information. This was something the Deputy Press Secretary Raj Shah said last week.
His background investigation was ongoing. That process hadn't been completed, so we were relying on the information that we had.
It's something that Sarah Sanders repeated yesterday.
As I know Raj addressed last week, we let the process play out. It was ongoing.
But today, FBI Director Christopher Wray said the White House had repeatedly been briefed on Porter's background investigation beginning in March of last year, and that the investigation had been closed 6 months ago, back in July 2017.
The FBI submitted a partial report on the investigation in question in March, and then a completed background investigation in late July. That is, soon thereafter, we received requests for follow-up inquiry, and we did the follow-up and provided that information in November, and then we administratively closed the file in January. And then earlier this month, we received some additional information, and we passed that on as well.
Now, faced with this obvious contradiction, Sarah Sanders, just a few minutes ago, acknowledged that the FBI had finished its process, but she said the process had not been completed internally at the White House.
The White House Personnel Security Office, which is staffed by career officials, may have received information, but they had not completed their process.
Okay, everyone got that? So today, the process that was not completed was the one that was internal at the White House Personnel Office. That, of course, is the exact opposite of what Sanders said just 24 hours ago. Take a listen.
Look, this is a process that doesn't operate within the White House. It's handled by our law enforcement and intelligence community.
The White House has yet to be forthright and transparent with the American people about how this happened. The most clarity that we have gotten so far might be from President Trump himself, who has wished Porter well in his future, but has not said or written one single word of support for the victims of his alleged abuse or for survivors of domestic violence in general. Instead, we've been misled and we've been lied to time and again. And for what? To cover up for the guy who allegedly did this?